Hello everyone, my name is Stephen Bell, aka Stakui, and welcome back to the official Dev Diaries for Aura History Untold. If this is your first time joining us, make sure to go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell as we release new episodes every single week. And also be sure to sign up for the Insider program, as our next technical alpha will be available soon for eligible members. It is something that is free to everyone. You just need to go and complete a survey to get your PC specs in order to make sure that you meet the specific minimum requirements. But our topic today that we're going to be talking about is going to be QA testing in the grand strategy genre. And who better to help us than Jeffries, QA analyst at Oxide Games. So Zai, welcome to the show.
Hey, Stephen. Happy to be here.
Now, as we always begin these, it's important to talk about you a little bit, Zai, before we really jump into this. So I want to know a little bit about your background and your career in the gaming industry. So let's take it way back. What were some of your favorite games growing up? And was there anything in particular that inspired you to really get into game development?
I think growing up, my favorite games were Final Fantasy 3/6. In my opinion, probably the best RPG of all time. Chrono Trigger, which is in a close run for second for best RPG of all time. But I also really enjoyed SimCity and Sim Earth, pretty much any sim type game. And besides like video games themselves, I was a big player of Monopoly and Risk. So
yes,
those things all seem to culminate in a very interesting way here at Oxide, both like narrative storytelling and strategy.
What does your day-to-day look like when it comes to Aura?
A part of my background is also as a modder. I mod a lot of games. I've modded pretty much every strategy game that I play, from Civilization to Stellaris to CK3. Then over on the RPG side, games like Skyrim and Fallout. And the process of modding, I find, is actually very similar to QA, because what you're doing and what I'm doing in QA is I'm taking apart the constituents of the application and reviewing those small parts and seeing how they interact with other parts and making a decision, a value judgment of, do I like how this plays with this? Could it be better? Is it doing what it's supposed to be doing?
So, okay, let's dive into the intricate world of testing a 4X game. Given the complexity of a game like Aura, how does your team manage to prioritize what aspects to test thoroughly, especially considering that time and resources are limited after all?
Well, one of the good things about working in a team and with a pretty well-staffed studio is that prioritization tends to be a production responsibility. So a lot of times they are telling me, this feature has been updated, this feature has been changed. We need to have this reviewed and tested and just, put through the gamut right now. And, we can do that. And that makes some prioritization a little bit easier, but that's, not the only thing. There's also just the day-to-day. So you have to identify what you find as fun and what is on the golden path that you think that the player will take. You can never really know 100%, but you can take a good guess at it. And one of the first ways to do that is by just, before testing, play a little bit. Play for an hour. See what you did naturally, and then talk to the other people. I talk to the other people on my team and say, so did you do this? Did you do that? And if they did, it's like, okay, so this is on the golden path. These are the important features that everybody is going to have to hit and interact with at some point. So that guides where our eyes are going to be.
I do get that. And of course, you're talking about a game that has a lot of different systems in play. There's a lot of crafting, there's combat, there's diplomacy, there's culture, there's all these different areas within the game. How do you coordinate all of that with all these interconnected mechanics? Like, does everything have to be tested again after one part gets updated? Because it's not like every single thing is going to stay the same. It all affects each other.
Well, I mean, everything is a pretty big category. But I will say that after certain changes, a lot of the game does need to be retested. So just because one part of the game has some of its code changed and some of its features changed, doesn't mean that other code in the game will automatically update and change. True. It will interact with that new code, though, in a different way, or it could. So you have to check that out. You have to really think outside of the box and explore, say, okay, what happens if I do this? And then you take it a step further and say, okay, what happens if I break this? What happens if I intentionally do something to make, or can I intentionally do something to make this system behave in a way that it's not supposed to behave in? So that's one method of that's one way of doing things, but also we do tend to split disciplines a little bit. So you have like a pod organization, and you have somebody's like, okay, so you are going to be doing the QA for all of the artwork and all of the graphical assets in the game. And that sounds like, oh, so you're just looking at pictures. And it's like, no, you're not just looking at pictures. You got to make sure the resolution is on point, the scaling is on point. You got to mess with other settings in the game and see if you can make the art display in a way that it's not supposed to. And that's just one of several different pods. I mean, the huge one is like the living world city renderer pod, because the living world is one of the huge things in our game. And that's just the whole map. All the little NPCs, the animals, the buildings that you see on the map. Some of that does have overlap into art and whatnot, and some of it has overlap into other categories like audio. But it's all related, so you have to maintain communication with all of the other pods and all the other groups. But coordination is like a daily challenge. You have to learn how to do something new every day.
Let's get into the specifics of testing within Aura History Untold. Because Aura features a lot of new procedurally generated worlds. Everything is different at the start of each game. So could you share some insight onto how you actually test these environments to ensure that they're diverse, that they provide a lot of different new and engaging challenges for players?
One of the most important things to do in Aura, not just Aura, but in all QA in general, is to go outside of your comfort zone. Play the game in a way that you wouldn't normally play. It doesn't mean you got to play bad. It just means that you do something slightly different. And you're doing that because when each of these maps are different, using a consistent or the same strategy for everyone is only going to expose a small part of the game to the player. So you want to do something in a variety of different ways. So we have procedurally generated maps. That's one of the options for the map type in our game, as you stated. So we have in our game something called map keys. Map keys allow us to basically redo whatever procedural map was done. And it's just like, it's a long code identifier, like 16 to 20 something characters. And that will allow us that map key regenerates the exact map that was played for that map previously. So you can get back to where you were. It does take a little bit of effort, and it does change between different iterations of the game, because if the map is updated, then an old map key probably isn't going to work. So you got to go back to the drawing board and do things all over again.
Okay, so if that's happening with maps, what about the AI leaders? There's a lot of different choices that are available to each nation. How do you balance the AI leaders? Because will certain leaders, as an example, always focus on specific goals that suit their traits, or are they going to change their strategy based on the region and the resources and like where it is that they're spawning into? Because you can't exactly have Russia behave the same way in like Egypt. It's like completely different environment, exact opposite.
Right. So it's actually kind of both. It depends. The way our AI with leaders works is that they have certain buffs, and they will always try to do things that are going to be the most beneficial towards whatever set of buffs that they have. Now, that being said, we also have the living world. And since we have procedural map, that living world can change every single time. So what the AI is going to do will change based on the environment around them. So if you're in a landlocked area, for example, and you're playing a leader who's really good with navies, guess what they're not going to do? They're not going to be building navies.
Okay,
because they're in a landlocked area. But it's not only just the building of the troops. They are not going to research the technology as frequently or with as much priority as they would if they were on a coast. So the AI behavior does change based on the environment, but they will also have certain things that they are pushing more towards because those things are buffed for them. The AI is always going to try to do whatever will benefit itself the most.
Well, debugging is always an issue as well. It's not just a matter that a feature may be broken, but there may actually be broken components of a game. Were there any challenging bugs that you faced when you were testing all this?
There are some bugs that just keep coming back over and over and over again. And one of them is the land shark. And so we have in the living world, we have animals on every part of the terrain except for like mountaintops. So there's sharks and there's fish down in the water. There's birds flying above it. And every now and then a shark will come up onto land and just start chasing one of the NPCs around the map. They're just running in terror, trying to get away. But
wait, so they're reacting to a shark on land?
Yes, they will run away screaming from animals that are chasing them.
Okay. Oh. Wow. Okay.
So that's one that keeps coming back. And like I wouldn't say that it's really difficult, because it's really easy to see when it happens. It just keeps coming back when we regenerate maps and change water planes and whatnot. There's another one that's really funny that was more recent, actually, may still be in the game. We're definitely going to fix it, but it's like ASMR paradise. You can give a gift to another nation, and the audio that is associated with giving that gift will then just play anytime you interact with any other part of the UI. So give somebody a gift of food, hear somebody crunching an apple. Exit the diplomacy screen, then open some other screen, hear the crunch of an apple. Click an army, hear the crunch of an apple. It's a really satisfying crunch.
I mean, okay, I'm not hearing it right now, but it's like something that I kind of want to hear, but at the same time, I'm feeling over and over and over again. That's going to start to mess with me. It's like Pavlov, but for war gifts.
I've been eating so many apples lately, Stephen. I've got to tell you.
Well, besides apples, what are you most excited for players to be able to experience in R itself?
I'm really excited for players to be able to shape a government and a nation in a way that they want, and then show that off to others. So a lot of games will let you, select, your government type, or select your religion, and select these little things that give you buffs throughout your government. But the way that it's implemented in Aura makes each of these nations feel truly unique. If you want to have a low-tax communist government that has a focus on ecology, guess what? You can do that. It's the possibilities are really big. If you want to have a theocratic nation that has a focus on science, you can do that too. It's really interesting, the different ways that you can make the game behave, and it will actually show up in the living world. I think that's one of the things that makes our game the most interesting, that the decisions that you make are reflected not just in buffs or not just in numbers, but visually. You can see the choices that you've made, and that's really satisfying.
Thank you so very much, Zai. I learned a ton about Aura's testing process, and hopefully the fans learned something here too today.
You're very welcome, Stephen. It was great being here, great talking to you, and I hope you and everybody else enjoys Aura as much as I do.
And thank you to our fans who are watching. You can stay up to date with the game by subscribing to our YouTube channel for future Dev Diary episodes, and follow us on the social platforms of your choice, as well as join the Insider program for an opportunity to play the game before launch. And don't forget, please wishlist Aura History Untold on Steam. Lastly, we are giving away PC Game Pass codes on our Facebook page every single Tuesday, and another code that is going out on Twitter every Wednesday. So be sure to follow along and answer each week's prompt in order to enter for your chance to win. Thank you once again, and we will see you all next time.